Today's episode was sponsored by Incogni. Hey guys, Willie here, and today I wanted to start things off by telling you guys a little story. The story of the broker. They're 8 feet tall, with claws of steel and hearts as black as coal. This flashlight is too bright, it's hurting my eyes. You never see them, but they're always around. And you better not give them a single piece of information about yourself. Because if you do, they'll take it and sell it to a bunch of companies who use it to try and sell you stuff. Alright, I think if I keep doing this flashlight bit, I'm gonna go blind. But I haven't even told you guys the scariest part yet. And that's that the brokers are actually real. Granted, I don't think they actually have claws, and they're probably more in the 5'6", 5'7" height range, but they are watching. And they do sell your data to companies who use it to contact you through annoyances like spam emails and robocalls. Thankfully though, every monster has a weakness. Vampires have sunlight, werewolves have silver bullets, mummies have British people, and data brokers have Incogni. Once you're on a data broker's list, they're required to remove you from it if you ask them to. But unfortunately, there are so many of them, and they can be so hard to find that doing that on your own is next to impossible. With Incogni, you just need to enter a bit of your information and they take care of the rest. I've done it myself, and I can say from experience that it is way easier than killing a werewolf. It's a lot less messy, too. Right now, Incogni is offering my viewers 60% off on an annual plan. So follow the link below and use code WillieMuse to start taking back your personal data today. So thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring this episode, and yeah, let's get on with it. I think I may have burned my retinas. We open in a high school populated by what I can only assume are a bunch of 40-year-olds.
Hey, Matt, what's up?
Oh, hey, Mitch.
So what's on your party plate this weekend?
Nothing.
Well, listen, me and a couple guys were heading over to Johnny D's house. You know, kick back, mellow out. You care to join us?
No, I can't.
Come on, man. Johnny's folks are out of town.
Shouldn't Johnny D be the one inviting him? It feels rude for guests to bring guests to a teenage weed party. There are only so many bugles in a bag, you know?
Thanks, man, but I gotta get home.
Oh, come on, preacher boy. It's Friday. What else you got going on? A hot date? Oh, man, sorry. I forgot about Heather. Those long-distance things bite.
Like I said, I haven't seen many episodes of this show, but it's so good at seamlessly weaving exposition into the dialogue that I don't think I need to. I'm all caught up.
Look, you change your mind, give me a call, okay?
Yeah, maybe some other time.
All right. In the meantime, how about a little something to tide you over for the weekend? Here's a joint. Guaranteed to knock you on your butt.
I know I'm supposed to feel scandalized right now, but honestly, all I can think watching that is that that is a good friend. He just gave Matt a free joint for no reason other than to help him relax. That is very generous. Especially because that middle-aged man is 17. That could not have been easy for him to acquire. I feel like most teens lucky enough to get their hands on a doobie are gonna hang on to it for dear life, but this guy is just handing them out like some sort of stoner Santa Claus. Unfortunately, Matt doesn't seem to appreciate the gift. Although weirdly, he does still hang on to it for dear life. And that was probably the biggest problem I had with the plot of this episode. It seems very easily avoidable. It feels like the show wanted to do an episode about weed, but they didn't want to sully any of the main kids' good names by having them actually do the weed. So instead, they settled on this weird situation where a joint makes its way into the house for reasons that are seemingly beyond anyone's control. But the thing is that they totally were in Matt's control. If he didn't want the weed cigarette, he should have just thrown it out. Or if he doesn't want it to go to waste, then just put it down and walk away. It's a high school. Someone would give that little guy a good home in like 10 seconds. The only explanation I can think of for why he would have kept it is that he was just so scandalized that he didn't know what to do. Like, I feel like if I were handed a bag of meth, I'd probably do something pretty similar. I certainly wouldn't want it, but I also wouldn't want to risk anyone seeing it in my hand when I went to throw it away, so I probably would stash it in my pocket until I could get home and deal with it. That said, though, if I did have a bag of meth on my body, you had better believe that that is the only thing I'm thinking about until I hide it somewhere. And probably several days after that. At the very least, I would be aware of its location on my body at all times. So if Matt truly is scandalized, it makes what happens next feel a little unbelievable.
Hey, girl. You have a good day? Yeah, of course you did. Mwah.
That dog looks rad as hell. And yeah, from there, the episode spirals into what I can only describe as a normcore fever dream. Honestly, I think this might be the most complicated thing I've ever discussed on this channel. And that includes 9/11. And what's weird about that is that it's not that complicated. On the surface, it's actually pretty simple. Honestly, I think you could probably guess the entire plot of this episode if all you watched was the last clip I showed you and this.
Hi, girls. Hey, Mom. Look, do we have any eye drops? My allergies are really bothering me.
It's not pollen season.
I know. It's incense season.
I told you to stop burning that stuff.
I'm not burning it. Yeah, she's just stuck it all over the room.
I guess I don't really hear Jessica Biel talk all that much. Does she always sound like an Italian-American plumber? Yeah, she just stuck it all over the room. Come on! But yeah, if you ignore her delivery, you probably wouldn't think twice about that clip. I feel like it's pretty obvious what's going on here. Between Jessica Biel's red eyes and the other one's incense, the show is setting up little reasons for the parents to suspect everyone when they inevitably find the joint. And on paper, that's a perfectly fine setup for an episode. It's just that the way it plays out is... Actually, I don't even know if I can describe it. I think we just need to watch more of the episode, and then I'll jump back in when I think I can say what I want to say.
Hey, Happy.
Okay, I have a dog who loves picking up the shit I drop on the floor, but usually he either chews it or eats it. Very rarely does he let it rest gingerly in his mouth until he needs to spit it out in order to move the story forward. And it's weird because I don't know that any of that was even necessary. The dog hasn't moved since we last saw him, so the dad could have just as easily bent down to pet him and seen the joint already sitting on the floor. I'm not sure why they went through the hassle of trying to make it look like it fell out of his mouth. Although I'm thrilled that they did because I love that shot. In fact, I'm going to play it again just cuz. Hell yeah.
Matt, what are you doing tonight?
No, not much. Just hanging out.
Hey, wait a second.
Thanks, man, but I gotta get home.
Matt, you lying sack of shit. Although I guess there is a chance that him sitting around the house with his parents was the reason he couldn't hang out tonight. There is something weirdly culty about this family. Like, I feel like the goal with the show is to portray the family as close, but I think that sometimes they lay it on a little strong and push it into creepy territory. Like, there was this other episode I watched where Matt is in college and he spends the night at his girlfriend's house, and then in the morning he calls his dad to make up a lie about where he was. And it's like, I can maybe understand a college student being worried that their parents think they're having sex. Maybe. But if that's the case, then the simple solution should be to just not call them. The implication is that he, as a 20-year-old, is in such constant contact with his father that one missed call is enough of a potential red flag that he had to preemptively think of an excuse. And it all feels just a little bit off. And like, I'm not saying that the Camden family is some sort of perverse, incestuous sex cult, but I'd also be lying if I said that the thought didn't cross my mind a couple of times while watching this episode. They're very close, is my point.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad.
Hi. Has Happy been outside today?
No, just in the backyard. Why?
No, no reason, just wondering.
Oh, man, my eyes are killing me.
Hey, give me one of those. Hey, no more snacking. You're gonna spoil your dinner.
Hey, Dad, remember when you said Wilson could stop by after dinner tonight? I was hoping you and Mom could, find something else to do upstairs since it's kind of like a date.
While we're on the subject, Mom said it's okay with her if it's okay with you if my new friend Rod came over for dinner. Dad?
Alright, this doesn't have anything to do with the episode, but watching him eat cookies reminded me of how fun it is to eat cookies while you're high. And so I paused the episode and baked myself cookies. It was the right decision.
Oh, I know you must be exhausted, but I don't think we should keep the girls from having their friends over. I'd rather have them here than someplace else. Is that what I think it is?
Marijuana. Happy dropped it right by my feet when I came home. And unless the dog's running a lucrative side business, I got a feeling a certain teenager brought this into our house.
Are you sure it's pot?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is, all right. Oh, you think?
I got a pretty good idea. 6-foot white male last spotted in the kitchen inhaling cookies.
Wait a minute, Eric. That is not proof that he is using drugs.
Isn't it, though? I mean, I guess it's not because he never actually smoked, but the way he's eating those cookies, it really looks like he did. I think if I saw my teenage son eating cookies like that, I'd assume he was high, even if I hadn't found a joint in the front hall.
Who else could it be?
Well, I don't know. Have you seen Mary and her bloodshot eyes?
So she's allergic to something.
Lucy's incense, but it could just as easily be either of them. Mary stopped hanging out with the girls on her team. She keeps to herself. And Lucy, all of a sudden, she's dressing like a bad poet, throwing around words like per se.
Okay, first off, I think that per se is 2 words. Also, what? I guess to be fair, that is a reference to an earlier part when Lucy is asking if her new boyfriend can come over for dinner.
Mom, since I'm not allowed to date yet, I was wondering if it would be okay if I would invite Rod over for dinner instead of a date, per se.
How old is this Rod, and how exactly do you plan to go out, per se?
But even still, is that really one of the things you're going to reach for when trying to figure out which one of your kids is on drugs? What if her vocabulary's just gotten better? Per se really isn't that uncommon of a phrase, so I don't understand why that would be proof that she's doing drugs. But that said, I also don't think I would really question it if I wasn't making this video. And I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier about this episode. On the surface, I think we all understand what's happening here, but when you actually try to comprehend what's happening, it feels kind of hard to understand. Like, let's go back to that clip where Jessica Biel does her best Ratso Rizzo impression.
Hi, girls.
Hey, Mom. Look, do we have any eye drops? My allergies are really bothering me.
It's not pollen season.
I know. It's incense season.
I told you to stop burning that stuff.
I'm not burning it.
Yeah, she's just stuck it all over the room.
Again, it doesn't feel like there's much to unpack there. But then you try to unpack it. For starters, the little one isn't even lighting the incense. And if that's going to be the thing that makes the parents think she's smoking, you'd think that the smoke would be necessary there. And once you realize that there's no smoke, it also makes Jessica Biel's allergies harder to believe. Like, I might be wrong here, but my guess is that even if you are allergic to incense, you probably won't get red eyes just from existing in the same room as it. I think the smoke is kind of necessary there too. Although, even if I'm wrong, it doesn't really matter because, lest you forget, this entire episode is centered around the parents trying to figure out who brought a joint into the house, and that joint has clearly not been used. So like, why would any of them be high? I mean, I guess there could be multiple joints, but if that's the case, then where would the kids have smoked the other one? Like I said, this family is weirdly close, so the sense I get is that none of them are ever out of each other's sights long enough to develop a secret marijuana habit. But also, even if they were, it should not be this complicated. It's not hard to figure out if a teenager's been smoking pot. Just smell them. They won't smell like incense, that's for damn sure. I get the sense that this episode's understanding of weed is rooted entirely in repeat viewings of old after school specials. It doesn't just feel like whoever wrote this has never been in the same room as marijuana. It feels like they've never been on the same planet. There honestly is something kind of alien about it. And the longer it goes on, the weirder it gets.
Matt, I know it's him.
Okay, look, before this goes any farther, there's something I need to tell you.
I knew someday he'd do something stupid. I just was hoping it wouldn't be anything this stupid.
Genuinely, what would be something stupid a teenager could do that's not as stupid as weed? Like jaywalking? I think for this episode to make sense, you have to think of marijuana as the absolute worst thing that a person can do. And since I don't think that's how most people view it nowadays, a lot of the dramatic turns here feel weird more than anything.
The thing is, the summer before I went off to college, I did a little experimenting myself.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm trying to tell you before you come down on the kids. I want you to know that I've smoked pot.
Oh my god! That is the second worst thing one of the parents from Seventh Heaven has ever done. And yeah, this is what I mean when I say that this episode feels alien. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't fathom two real adult humans actually having this conversation because, like, who cares? I'm trying to do that thing I did earlier where I replace weed with meth. And even then, this reaction does not make sense to me. If my partner told me that they tried meth as a teen, I don't think I'd be mad. I think mostly I'd just be relieved that they were able to stop. Honestly, I'm having trouble thinking of anything my partner could tell me that they did as a teenager that would make me mad at them. The only things I can come up with are murder, assault, and promising our firstborn to the devil in exchange for concert tickets. Even if you think that weed is the absolute dumbest thing a person could do, that's what being a teenager is for. If doing something dumb in your teen years was a deal breaker, then there is not a single person on earth who wouldn't be single. Frankly, if just trying weed were a deal breaker, there'd be a lot less relationships in the world. In my experience, a lot of people have done that. And that was honestly the weirdest part of this episode. There is a huge emphasis put on the fact that the mom never told the dad that she smoked. And I truly don't understand how an adult could think that actually matters.
How could you just drop a bomb on me like that and then serve 8 people and a dog a meatloaf like nothing happened?
Eric, it was a long time ago. I was a kid. The longer you and I were together, the more I didn't want to bring it up.
I really wish you had.
I do too, but I didn't.
I think that if my spouse came up to me and sincerely apologized for not telling me that they smoked weed when they were younger, I would be upset, but only for their mental health. The fact that this had apparently been eating them up inside for years would be very concerning. This is not a thing that you need to disclose to people. I personally operate under the assumption that everyone has tried it at some point, so if anything, the thing you should disclose is that you've managed to avoid it your whole life. That also doesn't really matter, but at the very least, it's a more interesting thing to tell people about yourself.
Were you never tempted to do it?
Frankly, I never got the appeal.
Okay, but see how good it makes cookies taste? And then talk to me. Also, that's a weird thing to say. For him to not understand the appeal suggests that he's tried it and didn't like it. Which, if that's the case, then it certainly would explain why he was able to identify it by smell. The dad isn't the only person the mom tells about her past indiscretion. She confesses to Matt, too.
A long time ago, I smoked pot. My friend Rachel's boyfriend would come over to her house and we'd all smoke in the TV room downstairs that they had set up, thinking that we were trustworthy enough to have a little privacy.
Is she telling him that she smoked pot or that she was in a throuple?
One night, her boyfriend left her house stoned and got in his car to go home. One stoplight before he got there, he got in a terrible accident. He went through the windshield, and he was killed instantly.
All right, this is obviously a little bit fear-mongery, but I'd still say that it's the strongest part of the episode because at the very least, they're giving people a reason why they shouldn't smoke weed. Granted, I feel like this is less of an argument against getting stoned and more of an argument against driving while you're stoned, but that's better than what the show's been doing for the rest of the episode, which is basically just saying, weed is bad because I said so, blah! They're actually engaging with the reality of drug use. Well, that's not true. I'd say they're more engaging with what they think the reality of drug use is. I still don't really get the sense that anyone involved with the making of this episode has any idea how weed works.
We were still stoned when we got the phone call. And when we got to the scene, we were half out of our minds. And there he was, this boy we had just been with, dead on the pavement. That night was the last time I ever smoked.
I'm very grateful to say that I've never been in the situation she's describing right now, but I think that if I were, I'd stop being half out of my mind pretty soon after I saw my friend lying dead on the pavement. That's the sort of thing that'll snap you right back into reality. Also, what call did they get? Weren't they at her friend's house? I feel like cops don't generally call a high schooler's girlfriend with the bad news. I guess maybe the kid's parents could have called them, but I don't know. It feels weird that a couple of grieving parents would start telling people quickly enough that two stoned teenagers could make it to the scene while the body's still on the pavement.
To this day, I still feel some responsibility for that young man.
Okay, now I'm starting to think that this is less of an argument against pot and more of an argument in favor of getting therapy. This woman clearly has issues she needs to work out.
I'm telling you this because if you're using drugs, I want you to stop. If anything like that ever happened to you, I could never forgive myself. A mother never wants to get a phone call like that. I know you're young and that you want to test the waters, but sometimes it's just not worth it. Matt, there comes a time when we all have to own up to our own mistakes. Your dad and I always tried to avoid accusing our children. We much prefer that you take responsibility for your own actions.
So anyway, in the next scene, his dad and her accuse their kids.
All right, I'll get straight to the point. I found marijuana in the house. And while I never thought of myself as the type of father who'd have to drug test his kids, I'm willing to do just that if that's what it takes to find out who brought a joint into this house.
That feels extreme. Like, yes, if I were to picture the idealized version of my future home, it would not include teenagers sitting around getting high. But even still, I think I'd prefer that to cups of piss. Also, I don't really get how that would be better. I feel like whatever impact weed might have on a child's development would pale in comparison to the fallout they'd experience from having to routinely urinate in front of their dad. And I guess Matt isn't too happy about the idea of it either, because eventually he fesses up.
Then whose joint is it?
It's mine.
You gotta be kidding.
Look, Simon.
Man, I can't believe you.
Simon, wait.
Fucking narc.
What the hell do you think you're trying to pull?
Eric, calm down.
Oh, I think I've been about as calm as I can be throughout this. Now it's time for some answers. It's not enough that you're smoking dope. We have to bring it into our house. What if one of the younger kids had found this first?
Based on Bullcut's reaction just now, I don't think you really need to worry about what might have happened if the younger kids found it. Unless your worry is that they'd turn you into the cops.
But I didn't think that...
That's exactly right. You didn't think, because if you thought about anyone but yourself, for a second, it might have occurred to you that the look that you just saw on Simon's face is the look of a kid who's just lost all respect for his older brother.
Eric.
Is this why you've never held down a job?
He's 17.
Just let me know one thing. Please tell me. It'll help me sleep better. Tell me that you wanted to get caught, because you couldn't possibly think that we'd be so stupid that we wouldn't find out.
You only found out because of a very specific chain of events. In most parts of the multiverse, you don't know shit.
Or better yet, please explain to us how anyone could be so stupid as to do drugs in the first place.
I don't know, Dad. Why don't you ask Mom? Maybe she can explain it to you.
Fucking narc. Also, this family is so mean to the mom. I skipped over it, but there's a subplot where the girls find the joint in the mom's dresser, and then when the dad starts accusing people, they instantly sell her out.
Dad, Lucy found something too.
Dad, I found a joint in Mom's dresser drawer.
I don't know, maybe she should start getting high again. Her family's clearly out to get her. She deserves a release. Matt storms off, then immediately regrets storming off, and then he goes to the church at night to pray. And by coincidence, the parents also decided to hit up the church at night, so they hear what he says, and that fixes everything.
Felt like coming in. Do you mind?
I don't mind at all.
I don't know what I was gonna do with it, but I swear I never even smoked pot. I never touched this stuff, I just took it. Not that that matters now. I know I shouldn't have brought it home. If I could just go back, I would, but I can't. Just... I'm so sorry. So stupid. I don't know how they're ever gonna trust me again if they won't even listen to me.
And watching that, it really feels like this episode could have been about a half an hour shorter if they had just let Matt finish a sentence. The only thing that them watching him pray changes is that he's finally able to explain his side of the situation. And that probably could have happened a lot sooner. Matt says like 3 words this episode. And every time he tries to explain himself, he gets cut off.
But I didn't think that...
That's exactly right. You didn't think.
Although rewatching that clip, I do wonder what he was planning on saying there. Before he got cut off, he said, "I think." And I don't really know what he would say in this situation that would begin with that. You'd think he'd say something along the lines of, "I didn't smoke it," or "It was given to me against my will." No part of this episode was the result of him not thinking about something. And I think the answer is obvious. He was never actually going to finish that sentence. The writers just wanted to set the dad up so he could say, "No, you didn't think." Because I think you're required by law to include that line whenever a show features a parent yelling at their kid for doing drugs. And honestly, I think that little exchange is pretty representative of this episode as a whole, because like everything else I discussed today, it's not something you really think to question, but once you do, you realize that a lot of it is pretty questionable. Like I said, there's something alien and dreamlike about this episode. And I actually think the reason for that is obvious. It's pretty safe to say that the episode has an agenda. Matt never gets to finish his sentence because his side of the story isn't really necessary. This was never a discussion. Everything that happens here is anchored to one core belief, that marijuana is objectively bad. And because of that, to those of us who don't share that belief, everything starts to feel a bit untethered. The characters' actions come off as weird, and the things that they say feel extremely overblown to the point that halfway through watching this, I started to suspect that this isn't meant to be taken seriously, and the writers were laughing their asses off the entire time they were writing it. Possibly while stoned. I don't think that's the case, though. I think they just wrote an episode about how drugs are bad, and they did it in a way that a lot of other people had done before. Because for as weird as this episode is, it's not all that out of the ordinary. Frankly, it's pretty in line with a lot of the drug education I got as a kid, you know? You were just supposed to accept it as fact that drugs are bad. It was a very black or white issue. Either you were a good little boy who resisted temptation, or you took one puff and ended up dead in a gutter. Honestly, I think that's why this episode seems to make sense on the surface. We've all seen these basic motions so many times before that it's made going through them second nature at this point. And unfortunately, I don't think that that mentality is limited to how we watch TV shows. I think that the way we were taught about drugs was so warped that for a lot of us, it makes viewing them rationally difficult to this day. Like, there are currently people who are incarcerated because of marijuana. That is literally the only thing any of us should ever talk about until they are all freed and compensated for time served. That doesn't seem likely to happen anytime soon, though, and while that's largely due to racism, I think that the racists are propped up by a lot of people who still have that muscle from their youth telling them that weed is just bad, so they're able to tell themselves, like, well, sure, I guess they should be in jail for it. When you're taught to view the world through extremes, it's going to make it that much easier to accept those extremes as the truth. And by extension, it will also make it that much harder to accept truths that aren't extreme. I'd argue that the biggest issue America is currently dealing with is immigration, and well, again, that's largely due to racism. I think that a lot of that racism is rooted in people's abilities to believe that every undocumented person is a monster who crossed the border solely to kidnap their child. There are a lot of stories coming out about people who voted for Trump because they wanted mass deportations. And now they regret it because, as it turns out, someone they love is undocumented. They just thought that the only people who would get deported were the bad ones. They were able to focus so strongly on this over-the-top idea of the situation that they had in their head that they ended up ignoring the much more obvious truth that was right in front of their eyes. And unfortunately, the extremes only breed more extremes. There's so much bombast in the world that people do their best to try and balance it out, but that just creates bombast in the other direction. Is bombast a word? I have never said it before in my life, and I have no idea where it came from. I talked a lot about weed today, and I feel like it's pretty obvious that I'm in favor of it, but it's not without its drawbacks. And sometimes I feel like I'm not even allowed to suggest that. Like, the mom is right. You shouldn't operate a motor vehicle while you're high. Or any heavy machinery. Although a bulldozer would be fun as hell. Crush a bunch of cars. I feel like that should probably go without saying, but I've definitely met people who seem to think otherwise. They heard someone say that weed's harmless, and they really took it to heart. Also, I can tell you from personal experience that it can be a bitch for anxiety. During COVID, I had nothing better to do, so I got high a lot, and it made things 10 times worse. It took me longer than I cared to admit to realize that smoking was stressing me out because it's weed. It's fine. So I kept smoking and things got weird. It changed me. UFOs were involved. That's a topic for another video, though. And I'm old, so this is as mature as my brain is gonna get, unfortunately. That is not the case when you're a teenager. If you're a teenager watching this, don't smoke weed. Yet. And that's the thing. For as stupid as this episode was, I ultimately agree with the sentiment. The goal here was to convince kids not to do weed, and I think people should be doing that. I just wish they didn't do it in a way that ignored all nuance. Because the fact of the matter is that the stuff you put in your body when you're a kid affects who you become when you grow up. So whether it's the stuff you smoke or the stuff that you watch, it's best to avoid things that are gonna fuck with your development. And yeah, that's my video. I'm tired. And yeah, that's my video. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe and share and comment and super thanks me, which, speaking of, I do have some super thanks back. Let me see. Hopefully I don't miss anyone. If I do, please let me know in the comments, and I'll get you next time. I'm sorry I am bad at keeping track of this. I should probably just keep a list. But thank you to Carolyn H6852, Tortilla Chips 3911, Tortilla Chips 3911 again, on the same video, damn Tortilla Chips. Libby Cadam. I'm not good at reading. Libby Cadam. Schlabadoo22, I know that one. Schlabadoo22 again. Sorry, Sod. Seda Prescott. Schlabadoo22. Thank you, Schlabadoo. Rose5464. Also, Schlabadoo, I hope you don't feel like obligated to give because you know that I like saying your name. I just want to make that very clear. If you don't, you have under no obligation to give to me. But that said, I'm very happy that you did, both because it helps out a lot and it's fun to say Schlabadoo. Rose5464, Jensen Worship, Sorry Sod, Soft Sad Boy, Schlabadoo22, Karina L8494, Sorry Sod, Ryflux, Leah Maybe, Nick Great Artist, Mark7920, Pazuzu Paws 1515, Dr. Skellabone. Jesus, Dr. Skellabone. I am sorry that I did not acknowledge that. That was a very Jesus. Thank you. I did not see Pazuzu Paws too. You guys are very generous. I'm thanking them as I write this because I didn't. Okay, and then let's see the ones I did respond to. Schlabadoo22, The Asterisk, Irish Alchemy, Seda Prescott, Mark7920, Hungry Terrors, Nina Eliza Stratton, Sorry Sod, A.G. Kemper, Jen Schreibenbrook. I know that I mispronounced your name from the comments. I don't know in what way, so I apologize if I did it the same way. Dr. Skellabone again. Jesus, Dr. Skellabone. Thank you. I'm gonna stop saying that, but I did not. I didn't look at the numbers. Holy man. Stormy Day, Blogspot, Jen Schreibenbrook, Cephalons, Soft Sad Boy, Schlabadoo22, Zen Watches You, and Pazuzu Paws again. And I think we're caught up. But yeah. I think that's it. Goodbye. Hello! It's time to pose and do stuff, and my hair looks crazy. One sec, I'll be back. Hey! Not yet. Hey! Do you know where my comb went? Yeah. Oh, you're gay. Okay, so I'm back. I probably cut out all of that. My hair looks crazy because I don't know if you can tell, midway through recording, I had to turn on the AC because it's getting warm, and so I sweat in my sweaters. That's where the name comes from. So I need to do my hair. I'm like, I feel like I just sort of like do whatever my hair is. I have pomade. And I have a comb. Ow, ow. I finally bought a comb. And it hurts. But yeah, my hair gets puffy. Not that much hair should come out when I comb, right? Ugh. Oh, I'm balding. Um. Ew. No. Why did I do this on camera? See, that looks less like I am trying to tell one of the local neighborhood boys how to get back to the future. Why is my hair coming out so bad? I think this is just a strong comb, hopefully. Oh no, my shower's been pretty cloggy. All right. Oh, God. So much hair. Anyway, so now I look slightly better and I need to pose, so. I don't know, maybe I'm just half-assing this one. My little, the little battery is just blinking in the corner. And so if I just cut out mid-sentence, that's why my battery died. But how do I react to this episode? I guess this is definitely my worst fitting sweater that I wear. What? Yeah, that'll do it for today because I'm a little nervous because of the little blinky thing. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.